You push forward every single day, adding one small improvement after another. Convinced that if you ever pause even for a moment, the fragile structure you've built will collapse inward, leaving you exposed to the emptiness underneath. But what if the real risk isn't stopping? What if the constant motion, the relentless forward march, is slowly suffocating the part of you that still knows how to breathe? Ryan is 35. He writes code for a large corporation whose glass headquarters rises above a city that never quite sleeps, a place of endless lights and hurried footsteps. His apartment is on the 23rd floor, a narrow box of clean lines and muted grays. The kind of place that looks intentional in photographs but feels temporary when you live in it. Alone, the kitchen counter holds a single French press, a row of supplements in identical amber bottles, and a notebook where he once jotted ideas for side projects that never quite materialized. Every morning he wakes at 6:12, not 6:15 or 6:10, because the alarm label says Kaizen start. He drinks 16 ounces of water, room temperature, then sits on the edge of the bed and opens the habit tracking app on his phone. A green check appears beside one postponed task completed yesterday. The streak counter reads for 112 days. He allows himself the smallest exhale of relief, a quiet acknowledgement that the system is still holding. For over a year he has lived like this, measured and deliberate. Procrastination used to own him completely. Emails went unanswered for weeks. Side projects gathered digital dust in forgotten repositories. Performance reviews carried the polite but unmistakable phrase needs to prioritize. He remembers those days clearly, the knot in his stomach during one-on-ones, the way he'd refresh social feeds instead of opening the eyed, the quiet shame that built like unpaid debt. Then he discovered Kaizen, not in a self-help book at first, but in a late-night forum thread titled How Japan Fixed My Life. 1% better each day, compound interest for the soul, they called it. He started small, replied to one overdue message, then two, then cleared the smallest ticket in the backlog before lunch. The graph in the app climbed in a gentle, satisfying curve. Managers noticed the change. Bonuses arrived earlier than expected. Friends, over rare beers, called him disciplined, even admirable. He repeated the word to himself like a charm, letting it settle over the older memories of failure. But lately the mornings taste metallic, a faint bitterness at the back of the tongue. The water slides down and sits heavy in his stomach. The green checks still appear, yet they feel thinner, like paper cutouts pasted over something deeper. He reads about Ikigai in the evenings, propped against the headboard with the blue glow of his phone lighting his face in the dark room. The diagrams ask for questions. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? The overlapping circles are supposed to reveal a clear center, a reason that makes the daily grind feel purposeful. Ryan fills out worksheets in the Notes app, makes lists of skills and passions, draws Venn diagrams on the back of takeout receipts that pile up on his desk. The center remains blank, a white space that stares back at him. He codes because the money is good enough for this apartment, for occasional trips, for the illusion of security, and the puzzles are intricate enough to hold his attention most days. But love, the deeper need? The questions drift unanswered, and the silence that follows them is louder than the city traffic 23 floors below, a low hum that seeps through the windows no matter how tightly they're closed. He tells himself the fatigue is temporary, a dip in the curve, a sign he isn't doing enough, that the 1% isn't compounding fast enough. So he adds another habit, cold shower. 30 seconds at the end, the first shock is brutal. He gasps under the spray, counts down from 30, emerges shaking and proud, skin tingling with manufactured victory. The app rewards him with a new streak, a separate chain of blue icons. But the tiredness deepens anyway. It settles behind his eyes during daily stand-up meetings, turns code reviews into slow slogs through thick fog. He stares at refactors he once would have finished in an hour and feels a dull fury at his own sluggishness. Japanese swordsmiths fold steel 10,000 times over years of quiet repetition. Tea masters practice the same gesture for decades, accepting the discomfort as part of the path. Why can't he sustain a few small habits without crumbling inside? He scrolls through articles late at night, comparing his streak to others who claim 10 years of unbroken morning routines. The comparison stings, a quiet accusation that he's still not enough. The days blur into weeks. He pushes through sprints at work, adding comments to pull requests that earn quick approvals, but the satisfaction fades faster now. Evenings stretch long. He forces himself into personal projects, timing sessions with Pomodoro apps, tracking lines of code written. The numbers climb, yet the blank center in the Ikigai diagram mocks him. He wonders if he's doing it wrong, if the small steps are leading somewhere after all, or just circling the same empty space. Sleep comes late, fragmented by dreams of endless backlogs. Tasks multiplying like errors in a recursive function he can't debug. The corporate retreat is scheduled for late autumn in the Alps, a mandatory escape disguised as strategy sessions. Ryan almost skips it, too many emails piling up, but HR flags attendance as strongly encouraged. And the flight is already booked. He boards the plane with noise-canceling headphones and a downloaded podcast about atomic habits, queuing up episodes he's half listened to before. The resort sits in a narrow valley walled by stone peaks still dusted with early snow, the air thin and sharp. Days are filled with workshops in wooden conference rooms smelling of pine. Evenings structured around team bonding and strategic alignment. Most people drift to the bar after dinner, glasses clinking under warm lights. Ryan takes his herbal tea to a corner table near the massive stone fireplace, watching flames lick at logs that pop and settle. That is where he meets Hiroshi. Hiroshi is in his late 50s, slight and unhurried, with gray threading his dark hair. He works out of the Tokyo office, visiting for cross-team alignments, and speaks English with careful precision, pausing to choose words. They talk at first about time zones and jet lag, then about legacy systems still running COBOL in parts of the company, then about nothing in particular, the way the snow muffles sound outside, the faint taste of smoke in the air. The conversation meanders without pressure. At some point, over a second cup of tea, Ryan hears himself say it aloud, "I keep trying to find my Ikigai, like it's something I can optimize for. But the harder I look, the less I feel it anywhere." Hiroshi turns his cup slowly between his palms, considering. He does not rush to answer or offer advice. The fire crackles. Outside, snow falls in thick, silent flakes, visible through tall windows. Finally, he says, "In Japan, we don't hunt for Ikigai like it is a rare animal to capture. We live. And sometimes it brushes against us, lightly, often through the places where we broke, where we failed or tired." He lifts the cup, shows Ryan a hairline crack running down the side, barely visible in the firelight. "This was my father's. The crack appeared years ago, during a move. I could throw it away, buy a perfect one without flaws. Instead, I drink from it every morning. The tea seeps just a little through the imperfection. It reminds me the cup is still useful, still here, perhaps more honest because of the crack." Ryan stares at the faint brown line inside the porcelain, tracing it with his eyes. Something in his chest shifts, not dramatically, no sudden release, just a slight loosening. Enough to notice in the quiet. Back in the city, the retreat feels distant, like a dream that evaporates on contact with Monday morning stand-ups. Ryan sits at his desk in the open plan floor, opens the backlog, feels the familiar pressure coil in his shoulders. He works through lunch, checks off tasks mechanically, adds another green mark in the app. That evening, he intends to code a personal project 1% better, as always, but when he opens the laptop at home, the screen glares like an accusation. His fingers hover over the keys, then withdraw. He closes it without saving anything, walks to the balcony door, slides it open. The air is cold and smells of coming winter, carrying distant exhaust and wet pavement. He stands there in socks, hands on the cold metal railing, and does nothing for a long time. The city hums below, indifferent. The next morning, he does not set the 6:12 alarm. He wakes at 7:48 to pale gray light filtering through blinds and distant sirens echoing up the canyon of buildings. For a moment, panic flares, streaks broken, momentum lost. The whole careful system unraveling, but the apartment is unchanged. Coffee still brews in the machine he forgot to set the night before. Emails wait in the inbox, but the building has not collapsed. The job still exists, He showers in water as hot as he can stand, letting steam fill the small bathroom. No 30-second ice blast at the end. The absence of punishment feels strangely illicit. Like skipping a required class, a week slides past in this uneven rhythm. Some mornings he rises early anyway, drawn by old habit, and completes a small task before work, clearing one email, fixing one minor bug. Others he lingers in bed, listening to rain against the window or the muffled sounds of neighbors starting their days. Evenings vary too. One night he codes late into the quiet hours, because a problem at work intrigues him unexpectedly, fingers moving without the timer running. Another he sits on the couch with the lights off, watching headlights sweep across the ceiling in slow patterns, thoughts drifting without direction. He forgets to log habits entirely some days. The app sends gentle push notifications, reminders he silences and ignores. Deadlines arrive and are met, not with heroic late-night sprints, but with steady, almost ordinary efforts spread across normal hours. Colleagues still nod approvingly in meetings, commenting on his consistent output. Nothing falls apart. The world continues its spin. One Thursday, the sky hangs low and colorless, threatening snow. That doesn't quite arrive. Ryan comes home earlier than usual, the office emptying for year-end. Holidays. He sets his bag down, pours water without measuring, and opens the laptop on the kitchen counter without thinking. He creates a new directory, names it nothing underscore important, and starts typing. No timer, no goal tracked, just a small script that draws fractals in the terminal symbol. Recursive patterns he remembers from university days. The code is messy from the start, variables poorly named, no proper error handling. Loops that could be tighter, but the patterns bloom across the black screen in slow, hypnotic branches of color. He watches them unfold, makes one small tweak to the recursion depth, watches again as new complexities emerge. Hours pass unnoticed when he finally stops. The city outside is fully dark and quiet. He leaves the bugs unfixed, the window open with unsaved changes. Later, standing on the balcony again, the wind carries the faint metallic scent of impending snow. Ryan leans against the railing, breath visible in small clouds. He thinks of the cracked cup in Hiroshi's hand, of tea seeping slowly through an imperfection neither hidden nor repaired. He wonders how long this looseness will last, whether tomorrow the old urgency will return, tightening like a fist around his chest, pulling him back into measured steps. Perhaps it will. In waves. Perhaps the cracks will widen some days, close on others. For now the air reaches him cleanly, cold and unfiltered, moving through spaces he hadn't allowed before. You keep moving because standing still feels dangerous, as if the ground might give way beneath you. But sometimes, in the small gaps you reluctantly allow, something quiet arrives, not a triumphant answer, not a permanent fix, just the faint, unsettling sense that you are still here, imperfect and breathing, with room for whatever might seep through.